Hello and welcome to Business 7. It is nearly time for the annual UN Climate Summit, or COP28, the most important event on the annual calendar as far as climate change is concerned. And in the program tonight, we will be placing special focus on climate change, not just in Africa, but across the world. We're also looking at the importance of the transformation of the rural economy in Namibia. Stay tuned.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
As always, we're taking a look at the business highlights across the African continent over the past week, and the report was compiled by Reuters.
Here's what's been making the business headlines in sub-Saharan Africa this week. Banks and other financiers should withdraw their support for Total Energies' $20 billion liquefied natural gas project in Mozambique. That was the message from environmental lobby groups in a letter sent to more than 24 project funders on Friday. The letter comes at a crucial juncture for the French energy company as it prepares to relaunch Africa's largest foreign direct investment project. Activists warn that it could worsen climate change and fuel human rights abuses in the impoverished southern African country. Also in environment news, the World Bank has warned that Kenya could lose up to 7.25% of economic output by 2050 if it does not take strong action to adapt to climate change and mitigate its effects. It called for increased investment in water resources management, farming, energy, transport and digital systems to help reduce the impact of a warming planet. Tullow Oil has signed a $400 million 5-year debt deal with Glencore to help manage its senior notes maturing through 2026. The West Africa-focused company has also signed a contract that will see Glencore take over marketing the crude from its flagship Ghana oil fields. Ethiopian Airlines on Tuesday placed an order for Boeing 737-8 MAX narrow-body jets, nearly 5 years after the 2019 MAX aircraft crash that led to the grounding of the global fleet. All 157 passengers and crew were killed in March 2019 when an Ethiopian Airlines 737 MAX crashed shortly after takeoff from Addis Ababa. Ethiopian Airlines CEO Mesfin Tasso said that they believe they have checked and confirmed that the design defect of that aircraft has been fully corrected by Boeing. And finally, Niger has missed payments on interest and capital totaling $304 million since a July coup, data from a regional debt management agency showed on Tuesday. Niger has been suspended from the regional financial market and central bank by the Economic Community of West African States and the West African Monetary Union after the military coup that ousted President Mohamed Bazoum.
The transformation of the rural economy in Namibia is of crucial importance to the country's economy. The Bank of Namibia focused on this at its recent annual symposium.
Inclusive development, Namibia must revive its rural areas. Namibia's rural areas seem to have been forgotten and have become zones of economic misery. High levels of poverty, unemployment, and limited access to basic services characterize them. This is also coupled with the phenomenon of essential service providers, including financial institutions, shying away from these areas, which exacerbates inequality and financial exclusion, amongst others. The disparity between the rural and urban areas are not only undermining overall economic development, but also aggravates social inequality and hinders the country's progress towards achieving Vision 2030 goals. Namibia is witnessing a steady increase in urbanization. The pull factors are better economic opportunities, education, healthcare, and infrastructure in urban areas. Some of the key factors of rural-urban migration are the huge disparities in living conditions as well as the lack of employment opportunities in rural areas. The Labour Force Survey of 2018, and that's the latest available one, shows that unemployment in rural Namibia remains higher than in urban areas, particularly among the youth. Youth unemployment in rural areas was estimated 49.1% in 2018, compared to 44% in urban areas. This has led to an accelerated rate of urbanization in the country. According to a World Bank report, by 2050, 72% of Namibians are expected to live in urban areas, putting pressure on existing space and infrastructure, increasing land prices, and reducing land access, especially for the poor. This calls for careful planning and devising of appropriate policies and strategies to mitigate the situation and reduce the pace at which rural-urban migration is happening. Realizing rural economic transformation is critical for Namibia's inclusive growth and development. Given the complex nature of rural development, a focused approach is required. We must identify a few key developmental and impactful initiatives that will help us to intervene and make progress on rural economic transformation. I now wish to reflect on the three key aspects that I spoke of earlier. If we prioritize as a country, this would lead us to economic transformation and rural Namibia. That's the promotion of sustainable agriculture, the development of rural infrastructure, and supporting the informal sector. Let's talk about sustainable agriculture. Agriculture holds the key to rural economic transformation. It is already playing a vital role in the rural economy, providing employment opportunities and providing food security. To revive and transform the rural economy, we must make agriculture a business where entrepreneurs are grown and nurtured, indeed a wealth-creating sector. To be clear, agriculture is not a developmental sector. Agriculture is business. Agriculture should shift from subsistence farming to increase productivity and diversification. Diversification involves developments in technology, the provision of better infrastructure, and well-functioning agricultural markets to support more diversified production. It's about how do we increase the income of the agricultural sector, of people in rural Namibia. How do we get the income increase? Agricultural diversification has been a policy objective of most developing countries during the structural change process. Asian nations such as Japan, Thailand, and South Korea have been successful in diversifying the agricultural sector. Rainfall patterns in Namibia have become more unpredictable and inconsistent with the traditional farming seasons, as exacerbated by climate change. The country has been experiencing persistent drought conditions for over 7 years. The Namibian government declared national emergencies in 1992-1993, 1995-1996, 2012-2013, 2013-2014, 2015-2016, 2018 and 2019 due to extreme drought events. And by the end of 2019, which was the worst drought recorded in 90 years, agriculture production was at its lowest. Increased livestock deaths were reported, and many families had their essential livelihood affected. The rural population is the most affected by droughts, as they highly depend on crops and livestock production on communal land. The Namibia Drought Assessment Report of 2022 estimated that about 750,000 Namibians are food insecure. In fact, studies highlight that the SADC region is highly vulnerable to climate change due to its geographical location, social and economic characteristics, and dependence on natural resources. This is extremely worrisome, and if we do not put measures in place to remedy the situation, we might have a national crisis on our hands. For this reason, climate resilient practices in the agricultural sector should be prioritized now more than ever. Other challenges facing rural farmers are access to markets, inadequate infrastructure, and availability and inadequate use of technology and financial resources. There is thus a need to focus and invest in rural infrastructure, including irrigation systems, storage facilities, and transportation networks. Equally, it is important to ensure access to finance and technical support to enable the adoption of modern and sustainable farming techniques. We must leverage innovation and technologies. It should not be a far-fetched dream for agriculture to use sophisticated technologies. It should definitely be possible to use robots, temperature and moisture sensors, aerial images, and GPS technology to enable more profitable, efficient, safer, and more environmentally friendly practices and methods. Such actions will go a long way in enhancing and improving rural agricultural productivity and transforming the rural economy. Therefore, the importance of irrigation schemes, such as green schemes, in the transformation of the agricultural sector and its contribution to food security cannot be overemphasized. Additionally, we must ensure the support and extension services provided to our farmers in rural areas while simultaneously preventing corruption and inefficiencies that misallocate resources from this vital sector. Lastly, I would like to talk about the informal sector, as this is key to rural development. The informal economy plays a critical role as the largest employer in the country, especially in rural areas. The latest available data from the National Labour Survey of 2018 shows that the proportion of informal to total employment in the country stood at 55.8%. In addition, in 2020, about 3.5% of businesses were estimated to have closed as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, which led to job losses for many, especially for those dependent on the informal economy for their livelihood. This estimate seems modest compared to the figures released by the Namibian Employers Federation in 2022, which indicate that in 2019, 158 companies, and in 2020, some 52 companies filed for liquidation in the High Court. This rapidly escalated to 815 registered companies and closed corporations who voluntarily deregistered between January 2020 and February 2021. As such, if the total number of businesses closing down is anything to go by, in the aftermath of the pandemic, the proportion of informal to total employment has further increased. Despite the challenging working conditions for those operating in the informal economy, they contribute significantly to Namibia's gross domestic product. According to the 2016 report by the Namibia Statistics Agency, the informal sector accounts for around 16.2% of the country's gross domestic product. It is imperative, therefore, to reduce decent work deficits in the informal economy and facilitate pathways to formality. Doing so will ensure that the informal economy contributes to and benefits from inclusive economic development in order to reduce poverty and address social inequalities. For this reason, the Bank of Namibia, in collaboration with the United Nations system in Namibia and other key stakeholders, formed a national working group focusing on studying the informal sector. The main objectives of the diagnostic of the informal economy in Namibia are to gain better understanding of the informal economy and identify pathways to addressing the associated challenges while also highlighting opportunities for intervention. This collaboration is built upon the recognition that the high levels of informal employment in Namibia have significant implications for the country's economic and social development. Accordingly, a comprehensive diagnostic of informality is required to develop an evidence-based policy framework to address the challenge. These efforts will be complemented by the bank's initiatives towards the promotion of innovative financial services solutions and financial literacy for the rural areas, including MSMEs, youth and women.
As promised earlier in the program, now we take a look at climate change stories in Africa as supplied by Reuters.
In Somalia, residents from the Luke Godi village recalled a night when floodwaters took over their homes. Abdi Adan Hassan spent hours on trees, making as much noise as possible in the hope that someone would rescue them.
We climbed trees. The whole night until morning we were beating jerry cans as a means of calling for help. We put babies and the elderly in beds and on trees and slopes. These floods have been going on for 2 weeks. The floods took people who were found the following morning on trees. We beat drums to convey messages to the people that we needed rescuing.
Another resident, Shamso Tabid Matan, said the floods took everything from her.
We went out of the house and the rain washed it away. We have no place to go back to. We are now living in plastic sheets. Above us is rain and under us is water. The water is not leaving us. We have no toilet. We cannot move. If we move, we are afraid we and the children will drown. We and the children are squeezed under a plastic sheet, and we have nothing.
The floods, which followed heavy rains that started early October, have already killed at least 32 people and forced more than 455,000 from their homes, according to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. World Vision aid workers are doing what they can to help.
We have so far rescued over 400 people from the locations that are completely submerged by the water as a result of the heavy rains that was witnessed over the last week, and even the river Juba that has also burst its bank.
A quarter of Somalia's population will face crisis-level hunger or worse this year due to drought and floods caused by climate change, the World Food Programme said on Tuesday.
In Kenya's coastal city of Mombasa, people evacuated from a flooded bus on Friday crossed the street by holding onto a rope in chest-high water. Many, like this woman, couldn't move and begged the government to intervene. Since the rainy season began less than a month ago, heavy rains followed by flash floods have submerged towns across East Africa, rendering hundreds of thousands of people homeless. In Kenya, at least 46 people have died in flood-related incidents, according to the aid group Save the Children.
I'm Joseph Wanje, mkazi wa Fisheries Bamburi.
As you can see from the situation here, everything has been damaged, this man says. Many people have been affected because of the rains. We elected leaders, but we can't see any help. With their homes submerged, some residents say the government is responsible for failing to unblock and repair drains.
Talks aimed at delivering the world's first treaty to control plastic pollution have drawn more than 500 proposals from governments, participants said on Sunday. Negotiators, who have spent a week at UN talks in Kenya's capital Nairobi, have until the end of next year to strike a deal. But the number of submissions was described as not progress, but chaos by the head of Greenpeace's delegation, Graham Forbes.
We are talking in circles and pandering to a few countries that are not negotiating in good faith, and all the while the fossil fuel industry is expanding plastic production at the expense of our climate, biodiversity, and human health.
Plastic produces an estimated 400 million metric tons of waste each year. But how the Plastics Treaty should tackle this waste has been a cause for debate. Environmental campaigners and some governments argue that you'll get less waste if you produce less plastic in the first place. But the plastics industry, perhaps unsurprisingly, doesn't agree. Or do oil and petrochemical exporters like Russia and Saudi Arabia. They say a global deal should promote recycling and reuse. Stuart Harris of the International Council of Chemicals Association said the Nairobi talks had delivered good ideas.
We now have in the document a wide range of views that will carry forward into INC4. And at INC4, that's where we expect governments to start to narrow down and identify areas of consensus.
Campaigners said major fossil fuel producers and exporters had stalled efforts to make meaningful progress. Less than 10% of plastic waste is recycled, the UN Environment Programme says, and at least 14 million metric tons is estimated to end up in oceans every year. 2 more rounds of talks will take place next year to try to finalise the deal.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.
Thank you for watching Business 7. We always enjoy your company. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place. Until then, take care.
Let me quickly show you something. Don't worry. Next time, I check nice.
Thanks, but it's okay. FNB Insurance checks nicer.
At FNB Insurance, we provide cover for all your valuables, from your phone to your laptop to your car. FNB Insurance. You value it, we cover it. T's and C's apply.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.